Welcome back to the podcast where we navigate Israeli bureaucracy with the grace of a confused tourist trying to order hummus in broken Hebrew. I'm your host, and today we're diving into what should be the simplest transaction in human history, opening a bank account in Israel. Now you might think, how hard could it be? You give them shekels, they give you a plastic card. End of story. Oh, my sweet, naive friend. Let me take you on a journey through the labyrinth of Israeli banking that makes getting through Ben Gurion security look like a leisurely stroll. So there I was, walking into Bank Hapoalim on Dizengoff Street, armed with what I thought was everything I needed. My Teudat Zehut, my passport, and the dangerous optimism of someone who thought 5 years of Hebrew lessons would actually help me understand banking terminology. I approached the service representative, let's call her Osnat, who immediately starts speaking to me in rapid-fire Hebrew like I'm a native speaker. I managed to stammer out Ani Rotze Liftot Cheshbon Bank, which roughly translates to I want to open bank account, with the grammar skills of a confused toddler. She looks at me, switches to English with a sigh that could power the Azrieli towers, and says, "You need Teudat Zehut, passport, certificate from Misrad Hapnim, army service documentation, 3 salary slips, letter from your employer, proof of address, and your grandmother's recipe for jachnun." I'm standing there like, wait, what about my grandmother's jachnun recipe? "Just checking if you were paying attention," she says without cracking a smile. So I pull out my documents, feeling pretty proud that I actually remembered to bring everything. "Wrong move, David. S.O. wrong." She examines my Teudat Zehut like she's a forensic investigator. "This is a temporary ID, she announces. "Yes, but it's valid for..." "We need the permanent one." "But the Misrad Hapnim said it would take 6 months to..." "Not my problem," she shrugs with that uniquely Israeli combination of helpfulness and complete inflexibility. Then she looks at my passport. "This is your foreign passport." "Yes, that's how I got here." "We need your Israeli passport." "I don't have an Israeli passport yet because I literally just made Aliyah, and I'm trying to open a bank account so I can get paid so I can afford to live here long enough to get an Israeli passport." She stares at me like I've just suggested we relocate the Western Wall. "Sir, these are the rules." After somehow convincing her that my temporary Teudat Zehut was, in fact, temporary proof of my temporary existence, we moved on to the account options. And oh boy, the account options. We have basic account, premium account, young adult account, student account, Olim Chadashim account, soldier account, and VIP account. "What's the difference?" I ask. "Basic account costs 15 shekels per month, unless you have a minimum balance of 20,000 shekels or make 15 transactions monthly." 20,000 shekels. That's like... I started doing mental math and realized I'd need to not eat for 3 months to maintain that balance. "What about the Olim Chadashim account?" I ask hopefully. "That's for new immigrants." "I am a new immigrant." "Yes, but you've been here for 4 months. The account is for people who've been here less than 3 months." "So I missed the deadline by 1 month?" Exactly. This is peak Israeli logic. It's like arriving at a bus stop and being told you missed the bus that comes every hour by 5 minutes. So now you have to wait for the next one, which comes next Tuesday. She then starts typing on her computer with the intensity of someone defusing a bomb. Every few seconds she stops, frowns, types some more, makes a phone call in Hebrew too fast for me to follow, and then types again. "There's a problem with the system," she announces. "What kind of problem?" "It says you don't exist." I look down at myself, wiggle my fingers. "I'm pretty sure I exist." "According to the computer, you don't." This is where I started having an existential crisis in Hebrew. Was this all a simulation? Had I imagined my entire immigration experience? Was I actually still sitting in JFK Airport, having a stress-induced hallucination about moving to Israel? After 20 minutes of phone calls to various departments, during which I heard the words "lo nireh" doesn't seem right, approximately 47 times, she managed to convince the computer that I was, indeed, a real person deserving of banking services. But wait, there's more. She then asks if I want overdraft protection. Will it protect me from overdrafting? I ask. No, it will allow you to overdraft for only 23% interest per month. 23% per month? Plus fees. What fees? Overdraft fees, processing fees, breathing near the ATM fees. I'm pretty sure she made up that last one. But at this point, I wouldn't put anything past Israeli banking. Then comes the credit card discussion. Do you want a credit card? Sure, I say, because apparently I hate myself. What's your monthly salary? I tell her my salary in shekels, which sounds impressive until you remember that rent in Tel Aviv costs approximately the GDP of a small European country. Ah, she says, looking at her screen, we can offer you a credit limit of 500 shekels. 500 shekels. That's barely enough to buy groceries for a week, let alone handle any actual emergency. I could get a higher credit limit by promising to pay in Monopoly money. Finally, after 2.5 hours, she slides over a contract written entirely in Hebrew legal terminology that would make Talmudic scholars weep. I'm trying to read it with my elementary Hebrew skills, sounding out words like hishtamshat and akrayut, while she taps her fingers impatiently. Do you understand everything? She asks. Absolutely not, I reply honestly. Great. Sign here, 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 and here. I'm signing documents I can't read, agreeing to terms I don't understand, in a language I barely speak. It's like playing Russian roulette with my financial future, except all the chambers are loaded and the gun is made of bureaucracy. 3 hours later, I walked out with a temporary debit card that wouldn't work until they activated it within 7 to 10 business days, a checkbook for a payment method that died in 1987, and the phone number for customer service that only operates during business hours when I'm at work. But here's the best part. 2 weeks later, I get a call from the bank. In Hebrew. Fast Hebrew. Machine gun Hebrew. I catch maybe every 5th word, but I gather that my account has been frozen for suspicious activity. What was the suspicious activity? Using my debit card to buy groceries at the Shufasal near my apartment. Apparently, purchasing hummus and pita on a Tuesday afternoon is so unusual that it triggered their fraud detection system. I spent an hour on hold listening to tinny Israeli pop music, then another hour explaining to customer service that yes, I do occasionally eat food, and yes, I am allowed to buy groceries with my own money. The representative kept asking me security questions like, "What was your mother's maiden name?" in Hebrew, and I kept having to ask her to repeat it slower because my Hebrew comprehension disappears under stress. By the end of the call, I was convinced they thought I was either a terrorist or an alien, possibly both. So there you have it, folks. Opening a bank account in Israel. It's like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube while someone shouts at you in 3 languages and charges you fees for holding the cube wrong. It's bureaucracy elevated to an art form, customer service that assumes you have telepathic powers, and a beautiful reminder that somewhere in this country, someone is getting paid to make simple things impossibly complicated. The real kicker? After all this, I got a tech survey asking me to rate my banking experience in Hebrew that I couldn't read. So I probably accidentally gave them 5 stars while trying to figure out which button meant submit. Next week, we'll be tackling the adventure of getting your driver's license transferred, or as I like to call it, proving you know how to drive Israeli edition. Spoiler alert. They're going to ask for documents that don't exist and then act surprised when you can't produce them. Until then, remember, you're not failing at Israeli bureaucracy. Israeli bureaucracy is an Olympic sport, and we're all playing without knowing the rules. This has been Olim Chadashim Chronicles. I'm Moshe, and I'll see you next week, assuming I can figure out how to access my online banking to pay for podcast hosting. Yalla bye.